And welcome to episode 5 of Coast to Coast. I am your co host, Beyond716, here along with Whittle2K. And we're here today, episode 5. What are we calling it? Sources, Sauces, and Oh the Bears. So if you're listening to us on YouTube, like and subscribe. We always appreciate that. Anyone that listened last week with Professor Guru was a great episode. It was phenomenal. If you need to know anything about the Steelers, go back and listen. And here we are. Welcome in, Whittle. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you today? How's everything
Doing
going?
great, man. Doing great. Living the dream, as they say,
That's
here
good.
on the
That's
west
good.
side. So,
That's it. Um, yeah, man. We're gonna get right into it, man. We are going to talk about the Bills today.
mhm.
And whenever we talk about the Bills, it seems to be more about the things that are going on outside of one's Bills drive versus what's actually going on inside the building. Um, this week, much like most weeks, the Bills are the center of some controversy. Not the center of attention, but the center of some controversy. The popular thing right now, Brian, is to doubt the Bills, to tell the world that the Bills aren't going to make the playoffs. Somehow they're not a good team. They're not what they used to be. The window is closed. They missed their opportunity. It's over. They're too old, too slow, too weak, too passive, not aggressive enough, not strong enough, not ready for the moment. Any superlative that you or any superlative or adjective that you would like to throw out there, or any insult you would like to throw out there at the Buffalo Bills seems to be the key. Is the key to getting clicks, or it's the end thing to do right now. But choose not to believe the hype, man. I think we're actually pretty good. Um, I'm just gonna take a wild guess. I think you probably would agree with me there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, Whittle, I think it's just something in life that you see a lot, right? Like last year, the hype for our team was as high as we've ever seen. I mean, I've been a fan of this team since 1982. I've never seen it this high, right? I mean, Peter King from Sports Illustrated said this is the best roster he's seen in 10 years. Any
Right.
roster, any Super Bowl team. When you start coming out with those narratives, it's like wow. And then the NFL Network, remember that graphic with Michael Irvin and all the analysts there? Every single one of them picked us to win the Super Bowl. Everything, not just to make it, to win it. So when you had this hype, right, and then we fall short the way we did in the playoffs, and granted, we know about all the things that surrounded it with, the unfortunate thing, the tragedy of Damar Hamlin, the other things
Right.
that were swirling around the city of Buffalo in many different directions, and the injuries, right? And when a lot of the public gets let down, right? The media sees us as a soft target, and you combine the Jets getting Aaron Rodgers, which is it's a huge move. We can't deny getting a Hall of Fame quarterback, even if he is, albeit 38, is a big deal, right? With the Jets defense. So you got the New York market coming, right? You got Miami there, and you know how people are with Miami. Miami's always been a hype train too, and you combine it with our disappointment last year. It's the perfect
You
recipe,
seem to be
and
having
I
a
think
little
that's what we're
technical
seeing.
difficulties right now.
Oh, okay. Can you see me right now?
Yeah, yeah. You're frozen. The screens keep going out back. They keep going in and out. But I mean,
Oh,
you can
okay.
continue, man. I kind of get the gist of what you're
Okay.
talking about. Go
Is
ahead.
that better? Is
We're
that
good
better
now.
now? Perfect. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah. You
basically the
good.
perfect recipe combined with New York, Miami's ascension, right? And the New York market, right? And Buffalo being, a team that's been we've been the pick for almost 2.5 years. Besides, we've been the ones that take that. We're the ones that are going to take down the Chiefs. We're the ones that have Josh Allen, right? And we haven't done it yet. So we're the targets now. So I think we can turn this around and wear it with a badge of honor,
Oh, absolutely.
going forward.
Yeah, like you said, man, this is one of the best rosters. But that praising the Bills, talking about what we have going on, the positives, just isn't. It's not what's popular right now. What's popular? Uh, what's actually popular is to crush the Bills, to talk trash about it. So, you know, even when you think the story, there is no, even you think there is no story, there becomes a story. Like a story gets created. So this week we had Stephen A. go on to I believe it was First Take or whatever show he's on and
Mhm.
on ESPN, whatever it is. I've stopped watching ESPN because of some of the hot takes that come out of there. Um,
Mhm.
you know, it seems less about it. It seems less about the actual sport and more about let's see who's gonna say the wildest thing to get the most buzz. I guess that's what sells now. But Stephen A. came on and came on his show and he said, you know, we're not gonna let the Buffalo Bills off the hook, right? You know, the way that they've floundered in the playoffs and different things like that. And um, then he went to talk about and Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, those guys. He said, and Stephon Diggs doesn't want to be in Buffalo anymore. I have my sources. I think he meant to say sources because his sources are about as relevant as a $2 bottle of ranch sauce or hot sauce from the supermarket. Because less than 5 hours after that came out, he said what he said on television, and of course it caused a buzz, and you know it was talked about, and people tweeted about it. Stephon Diggs gets right on Twitter and says, "This is not a story. I'm good. I'm happy to be in Buffalo. I want to still be here." Like I don't know where he got this information from, but it definitely wasn't me. Um, he said he thought he nipped it in the bud. Steph, we did too, man. I mean, we thought you nipped it in the bud as well, but apparently no. Apparently it's still a story. Stephen A did later on go on and on his podcast and I don't know if it was a retraction, was just more along the lines of I'm acquiescing to the player and what he's saying, but I still want to keep a certain level of credibility saying that my sources told me this, so maybe my sources and Stephon Diggs are not on the same page when now and they were at a previous time in the past. But and we're no strangers to this, right? Beyond all
Definitely
summer
not.
long, all off season, Twitter's been a buzz about how the Bills are. It's over for the Bills. They're not that good. The team has missed its window. Everybody's caught up. It's they lost to the Bengals. It's over for them. The way they lost it. Oh my God, they're done. Von Miller's too old. Uh, Poyer, Hyde is too old. Hyde's coming off a neck injury. These guys are not good. Josh Allen's a turnover machine. You can't get it done. McDermott can't get it done. The defense is going to fall apart. The offense, you don't have a running game. All of these things. Josh Allen's the running game. We heard all of that this offseason in Twitter. Uh, and it's only one way to get this. It's only one way for this to change. It's only one way for the media, the narratives to change. It's only one way to get the narratives to change on Twitter, and that is to go out there and win the whole damn thing. Okay,
Yep. Just like
that
those videos we made, right? Like win the whole damn thing, and Deion
that's
Dawkins
it.
made those. And what they always say, like I've had friends that work in sports and even the news realm. Timing is everything, right? Like
Right.
if the Bills, and we're gonna get to the game last Saturday, but if Josh Allen threw 3 touchdowns and Stephon Diggs caught 2, would Stephen A have had that segment on Monday? Right, the Bills coming
It's
off
a good
13
question.
penalties, right? Like it was perfect timing. The Bills looked bad. I mean, we can't get around that. We're going to get into that later, but it's all about timing. It's Monday, right? They're trying to come up with topics, and they're like, "Hey, Steve, we're still not sure." It feels like they don't believe Stephon Diggs at this point. That's how I'm taking it, right? And maybe
Mhm.
Stephen A. does have a source. I mean, you and I are very familiar with Stephen A. Right? I mean, we're
Right.
from the East Coast. He was with the Daily News, Philadelphia Inquirer. He's one of the best writers I ever saw for the NBA. I mean, Stephen A. is one of the best in the business, no matter how you slice it, right? But football's not his top forte, right? But that's not. It's not even about that though, right? It's about. I mean, the source could be anything, right? I mean, it's such an open-ended kind of. Oh, my source could have been someone on Twitter, right? It could have been someone that direct messaged me who maybe works for the Bills who said something and or overheard something in the hallway. I mean, it could be anything, right? So,
Right.
I'm glad Diggs was quick to go on there and put an end to it. I think it's just, we're like Missouri right now, Whittle. It's got to be, we show me. When it comes to them, we just got to go out there and play our game. If we come out smoking this year 4-1, 5-1, and if Diggs is doing his thing, this is all going to dissipate, right? If we come out struggling, they're gonna pile on. I mean, we're a target for them right now.
That's fair, 100% fair. And just to like piggyback off of that, man, I got a little Stephen A. Smith story myself.
Mhm.
I was in college working at Madison Square Garden. I was bartending in the Madison Club. Yes,
I know that place.
a lot of
I've
upper
heard of
crust
it.
people in the
But
Madison
yeah,
Club. You know what I'm
that's what I
saying?
say. I don't have that cred to get in there with them, but I have heard of it. Let's put it that
Right.
way.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. And one night we're closing up. It was after. I want to say it was. I know it was after a Knicks game. I'm not sure if it was after a Knicks playoff game or not, but I know it was after a Knicks game. And Stephen A. comes walking into the Madison Club like he was passing through, and Stephen A. You're a real smooth brother. He
Oh
came
yeah.
through with something very nice on his arm, and I'm not talking about a watch or a handbag. Okay. So, he comes by the
Wasn't a
bar.
Saint Laurent or anything. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So he walks by the bar and say, "What's up, man? Stephen A, man. I see you, brother." He say, "Man, you know how I do." And he and he kept the movie. He dapped me up and all of that. I appreciate it. Like he wasn't. I appreciate guys like that because
Yeah.
he's at a status level where he doesn't have to talk to the bartender. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to do that, but he does because he's a real brother. And
That's awesome.
I don't doubt that he heard that.
Hmm.
I just and I'm not doubting that he heard what he said he heard from his source. I'm just doubting whether or not the source was being completely honest or the source really has access to stuff like that. And the reason why I say that is because all summer long, all off season, after the playoff game, right? We had to deal with, is Steph mad? Is Steph and Josh okay? Steph doesn't want to be a Bill anymore. Steph wants to go play with his brother in Dallas. Steph wants to go to Kansas City. Steph wants to go to another team. He doesn't want to be there anymore. We had to deal with this all off season. And throughout the off season, Stephon Diggs at any moment could have shut everything down by saying, "Hey, I'm good. I'm happy. I just had a, a rough moment, or I just had a human moment. Emotions got the best of me. Whatever, whatever." He could have spun it any way he wanted to. He never did.
Hmm.
Never
I
stepped
agree.
in front of a microphone and said, "Everything's okay. I'm fine." He
Hmm.
didn't. He was very vague with his tweets. He was very cryptic with his messaging. And once OTAs and mandatory mini started, he came in. He came into Buffalo that weekend before mandatory mini started. Monday morning, he had this meeting with Bean and McDermott. He's in the building. Mandatory mini started on Tuesday. He needed to have a conversation with the quarterback with 17. 17 and 14 have their conversation, and whatever happened, it didn't go 14's way, or 14 didn't hear what he wanted to hear, and 14 got out of Dodge. Okay. He got out of
Hmm.
the building. He Wherever he went, only him and his team know. Um, He got out of Dodge, and when McDermott was questioned later on that day, actually it was early. I think it was like 10 o'clock. I think the press conference was like 10, like between 10 and 11 or something like that. It was early. And they asked him, they said, Steph is not here. Are you concerned? He said, yeah, I'm very concerned. And I'm a parent, I have a few kids. And I spent time in the military. Reached a senior NCO level. NCO is non-commissioned officer for people who don't know. So I was a platoon sergeant. I was in charge of a number of soldiers, and if I meet up with my soldiers and we're at drill or we're at our unit or wherever we are, and we break out for lunch, and everybody leaves, right? And one of my soldiers don't come back at that 1 o'clock formation. If somebody asks me if I'm calling and not getting a response, if not getting a return call, I'm asking people, hey, where's such and such? No one knows. I'm concerned. So if somebody asks me, you have 18 soldiers under your command. 17 have shown up. After 18 were here this morning. 18 were here this morning. 18 got in their cars and they drove off to go pick up lunch. Now only 17 have returned. Are you concerned? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. I'm thinking the worst. I'm thinking car accident. I'm thinking maybe they got pulled over. They can't get to the phone. What if something happened to this? What? I'm thinking the worst because I care. You can't
100%.
fault McDermott for that. You can't fault McDermott for that. People want to say that McDermott made this situation bigger than what it needed to be. No, McDermott was honest.
You know what made it bigger, Whittle, more than anything else? And that was tremendous. Like, so many great points. I could unpack that for the rest of the show. Tone is everything, right? Like in today's world of text messages, Twitter, right? Instagram, all we see things. If I tell you, Whittle, if I say, are you really concerned? Oh yeah, I'm really concerned, right? Now that sounds different, right? Like, oh yeah, I'm really concerned about the player. But the way he said it was kind of a coach speak thing, right? He said, oh yeah, of course I'm very concerned. Like, yeah, he's my guy. I'm the leader of this team. It could have been Stephon Diggs. It could have been, the seventh string offensive lineman on our 90-man roster. He's still going to be very concerned. So people took it in print. When you read it in print, right, it comes across as, ooh, wow. McDermott says he's very concerned about Stephon Diggs. So tone is very important. If you watch the tone, how many times have we rewatched that replay? I probably watched it 10 or 12 times easily, right? And you just see it. It's not as if he's specifically saying, it's Steph. Man, I'm just so concerned about Steph right now in the context of him wanting to be here or him not getting along. He's concerned he's not there. He's going to be concerned about any player that's not going to be there. So that's how I really took it.
Right. 100%, man. And, with that being said, Steph, did report the very next day, went through the rest of mini camp, preseason training camp, et cetera, et cetera. He finally took the podium and sat in front of the media, and he spoke very directly. So some things had to get worked out. We families fight, right? Families don't always see eye to eye. So I'm assuming the conversations that needed to be had were had, and Steph said, I am here. I am fine. I want to retire a Buffalo Bill. He could have said this at any point over the summer and shut all of this down, but he didn't. He had these conversations. He sat in front of the media after these conversations, and then he said, I'm good now. And you believed him over the summer when he wasn't saying anything, and you believed it and said, this is negative. We believe Steph. But then when Steph comes out and says, I'm good, I want to be here. Oh, he's just saying that. We don't believe him now because it's positive.
Absolutely.
Because
100%.
it's positive.
Hey,
The
Will,
the
if for any, oh, I'm sorry. I mean, anyone that knows our history, two of our greatest players ever, by 1989, Thurman Thomas on his show, right, said, "Okay, what is the weakness of the Buffalo Bills?" And he just said quarterback straight out. Could you imagine if that happened today? What would be said on Twitter? What would be said? I mean, it would be a complete storm of epic proportions, right?
right.
But look what happened with Thurman and Jim.
Hmm.
That was a tough season. We lost the division round. We were 9-7. It was very tumultuous. They call that the bickering Bills. If anybody from 1989. But what happened in 1990? They put it
Yeah,
together. The response.
yeah,
We made Super
yeah.
Bowl 4 straight years. Now, granted, we didn't win it. That's not what this is
Mhm.
about. It's about the response to what was going on. Right? They had a lot of internal issues in '89. I'm not saying this team is the same, right? But the key now is what's the response, right? We hear about the culture here, right? We hear about how great it is. We hear about which I believe it is, right? With Bean and McDermott, and it comes from the ownership and Josh and Diggs and Micah Hyde. So many leaders we have on this team, right? Internally. This is a good stress test. Like, how are they going to handle this, right? After a very disappointing finish last year, let's find out what we're really made of going into 2023. And I think if that culture is real, I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%, man. Um, and just to kind of add to that, uh, the culture that was built here, um, was built on McDermott and his no nonsense, perfectly chiseled jawline of strategy. Like you know what I'm saying? Like he's a
Mhm.
wrestler, he's a tough guy. Like that's the type of that's the type of culture that was built here. We're gonna do things the right way. We're gonna get the right type of people in here, and that's how we're gonna conduct our business. Um, and I can't, and I would be lying if I said that. If that's not a great thing. It's a great thing. It's a great thing. Like look at look at what we've built so far. Um,
Mhm.
look further into why this team has been good, and it's been because of number one, they drafted a great quarterback, right? They saw
Mhm.
they saw a guy in from Wyoming, from Fireball, California, quarterback from Wyoming that was under the radar, live arm, kind of a wild card type of player. He could have went either way, but they coached him and they coached him well. Brian Dayball coached him hard. He made sure Josh was accountable for every single mistake, and that was something that we lost when Dayball went and took that job with the Giants. And I know we're kind of getting off topic and off track right now, but I think this is important when we're
Mhm.
talking about this season, this upcoming season. Um, there we as Bills fans on Twitter, our group um of Bills fans on Twitter that constantly we constantly interact. Um, we all agree that there was no adult in the room last year for Josh Allen. He kind of just was there. Dayball was gone. Dorsey was in the booth. Joe Brady and Josh are tight. You know what I mean? Like they're cool. So there was really no adult in the room, and there was some mistakes. There were some errors where Josh. There were some errors that Josh made that were uncharacteristic. He had not had a red zone turnover prior to last year, so
Mhm.
uh, maybe that's Diggs' role, right? There were
Mhm.
complaints about his leadership when he came to Miami and when he came from Minnesota about, he was a diva and all this other stuff. And he's been nothing but a great teammate. He's been nothing but a great, an essential part of what's been built here. And maybe that's his role, not just 120 catches and 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns. Maybe his role is to be, that stabilizing force for Josh. Maybe that's his job, and
100%.
why not? He's got the catcher, he's got the resume for it. Um, as good as Josh has been, he wasn't going to get there without Steph, and as good as Steph is, he wasn't going to get there without Josh. So here we are. At as important as Josh is to this team, Steph, in my opinion, is nearly as important. He's almost as important as Josh. Quarterback is obviously the biggest position. We get it. But right after that, man, on this offensive side of the football, it's Steph, man. This offense runs because of him. You know, everybody else eats because of Steph.
That's right. And, I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't concerned about what you just said about Joe Brady and about Ken Dorsey. Listen, we all want to work with people we get along with, right? Right. Well, right. Like if I was under your platoon, right, and you and I are friends, right? Even if you and I are very friendly, I would hope and like you being in the command would tell me if I'm doing something wrong, right? You know what I mean? Like if Josh is doing something wrong or he needs to step up, I don't want it to be like, oh, I just have my friends around, everything's great, and Josh gets to do whatever he wants. Like sometimes you just need to be held accountable, and maybe that's like you said, maybe that's Steph's role now. Like maybe it's not comfortable, right? But somebody needs to do it, and I'm okay with it. I think it's just the fact we saw it a little bit on the screen in the playoff game. Again, terrible loss. There's Steph, and everybody's going to jump to conclusions. It's the optics, right? It's how things look. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just that's just the way people react to things, right? But I agree with you. We need a Steph in the room to kind of keep Josh in check. And I hope those around him are not just like, hey, it's great to tell office jokes because Josh loves to joke around. Wonderful. That's great. I'm okay with that in the locker room. I think that's part of what makes this culture great in Buffalo and why players want to come here, right? But you got to put the pedal to the metal when things are getting tough, right? You got to be able to rise above that, not just. And I think that's where maybe some of Steph's frustration was.
Okay, well, we actually just had a live comment, but the viewer kind of stepped off. But we're gonna get into that as well. I'm gonna put it up, man. I'll put it up on the screen if you want to.
How would you guys
I really
feel?
want to tackle this one, man. I'm gonna let you go ahead and jump on that, man. But I really want to tackle this.
Well, I mean, on the surface, I mean, we saw what Jonathan Taylor did to us in the COVID year, right? Now, granted, it's a different team, different offensive line and whatnot, but this would make the Dolphins dangerous for this season. I mean, there's no question about it. Does it move the meter for them 2 to 3 wins? I mean, that's debatable, right? We have to see how that works out, but it also depends what they have to give up too, because we know they're going to have some cap problems next year. On top of it, can they sign Jonathan Taylor long term? What's the price of putting him on the roster? And Jonathan Taylor has been hurt a couple of times too. I'm not putting him down. I'm not, because I think he's a great running back, and I would love to have him on our team for the right price. But what is that price? So it would make them even more formidable, of course, yes. But I already think they're pretty formidable already. So
okay,
go ahead, Whittle.
I'd love it. Spin, and spin some more. Go get Jonathan Taylor. Go get him. You know why? Because look at the core of this team. Even if you add Jonathan Taylor, Tua has not proven to be able to stay healthy for a full season. Terron Armstead not proven to be healthy for a full season. Xavier Howard has been injured every season over the last couple of years. Jalen Ramsey has got a laundry list of injuries. Now, he hasn't missed a ton of games, but he's got a laundry list full of injuries. Bradley Chubb, injuries. Jalen Phillips,
yeah.
Injuries. Chosen Anderson, injuries. Go get him. Get him, please. Because it's going to make your team slightly better. It moves the needle a tad bit. But Jonathan Taylor does a lot of his damage behind Quinn Nelson, and Ryan Kelly, and the rest of that offensive line, right? Like they had a few other guys back when they beat up on us. They had a few other guys, but now they've got a solid group of young offensive linemen out there. They took Bernard Raymond last year in the draft, not this past draft, but the year before. Bernard Raymond, he was a kind of like a athletic, prototype type kid, full of size, all the size, all the athleticism, but not really a ton of offensive tackle experience outside of his college years. And the year before that, I think his name is Braden Smith. I think it's Braden Smith. Bro, listen, like that. I think 20. That was 2021. I think that was like the first year I dove heavy into the draft. I dove heavy into that draft, and he was a kid that I looked into, and I was like, God, I don't ask for much, but I'm asking that this young man find his way into the Buffalo Bills team, and he didn't. We ended up going in different directions, but yeah, I would love it, man, because if they bring in JT, they got to extend them, and Taylor's gonna want somewhere between 13 to 15 million dollars. I think the asking price right now was like 14, so he's gonna want 14 a year. He's gonna want that at least 3 years. Say goodbye to Christian Wilkins. Still got to, at some point you're gonna have to re-sign Connor Williams. They're gonna have to sign Jalen Waddle, Javon Holland. They got to figure something out at corner because X has got a big deal. Ramsey's got a big deal. They're gonna have to re-sign Jalen Phillips, and you still got to pay Tua. So do it. Bring them in. Blow your cap up, and we'll see you in 2 years when you're a 4-win team again. But that's where I'm at with that. Let's move on.
Yeah, thank you for that comment, by the way, Mr.
Yeah, we do
JDM
appreciate
Kid
it,
92.
Mr. JDM Kid 92, man. You were the first. We will always remember you.
That's
gonna
right.
take out of your comment, man. You're the first one. The Steelers game, Brian, it was bad. The starters came out there and they looked bad. Or did they? I was not overly knee-jerk reaction time. Oh my God, we play horrible. The Steelers first team embarrassed our first team on both sides of the football. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? This team may not make the playoffs. No. Look, we got to look a little closer. Okay. The interior of the offensive line for the Buffalo Bills played well. Whether it was Ryan Bates, it was Osiris Torrance, it was whether it was David Edwards, Mitch Morse, or Connor McGovern, those guys played well. Deion Dawkins come on, bro. You from Jersey. Like, Deion, get it. We got to get it together, baby. Please.
Exactly.
We got to get it together, man. Broadway stand up, by the way.
Exactly. That's right.
And Spencer Brown. I didn't think Spencer Brown had a super bad game either. Like, he was going up against TJ Watt, man. I mean, the edge rush for the Steelers are some of the best in the league. So you're gonna get beat from time to time when you're going up against the elite of the elite talent, and that's what the Steelers have on the edge, especially. So I don't think that was bad. Jordan Poyer continues to take bad angles and does not have the speed to recover from them. We've seen this multiple times. Tyreek Hill, he did it then. Last year, I mean, just pick a game. I love Jordan Poyer, man. He was a 4-6 guy when he got drafted. So here we are 8, 9, 10 years later, he's getting older.
And the game's gotten faster. And the game's
Right.
gotten faster in 10 years.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that's got to get cleaned up. But I can't lie, like, offensively, I feel like we were okay. I mean, I thought we ran the ball. I thought we were solid. We're running the football. Again, the Steelers have their front seven is amazing. Quan Alexander is everywhere. And that front line of TJ Watts, Highsmith. I don't know if Hayward played yesterday, but Benton definitely did. I mean, I don't know if Cam Hayward played, but Benton played. They got some guys over there, man. That rotation is extremely tough. We talked to Guru last week about it, and he broke all of that down. But I do think that there's positives to take from what we saw last week. But just as easy as I'm taking the positives, I am worried about middle linebacker. Terrell Dodson looked bad. He looked very bad. He looked indecisive. He looked out of place. He looked confused, and we can't have that because teams are going to run at us. So we need our linebacker. We need our middle linebacker to kind of get in there and take some of those second level blocks and let Milano kind of do his thing. Coverage wise, I thought Dane Jackson kind of got beat a little bit. Kyer Elam looked a little shaky. But all in all, man, I don't think we showed a lot on defense. I don't think we showed. I don't think we were aggressive. I think we just kind of played some vanilla things, and it was what it was. The Steelers clearly were more charged up from that game than we were. That was evident from the kickoff that they were ready to go, and we treated it. I don't think we treated that game as I don't think we gave that game the respect that it deserved, in my opinion. But how did you feel watching the game?
Well, yeah, it's funny because I had to rewatch it, but I got home. I thought the game was an hour later than it started. I can only see 14-0. I'm like, oh man, wow. Like, okay, didn't quite expect that right away, right? But
Right.
rewatching it, I kind of agree with a lot of what you said, especially maybe it wasn't as bad as it seems. It wasn't as good as it seems at times either, if that makes sense, right? Like Spencer Brown did have a couple of decent moments. I mean, yeah, he a couple of the plays weren't very good. Deion Dawkins was a mess. We know that, right? It is preseason, but don't the Steelers remind you a little bit of the 2019, maybe even 2020 Bills right now? They're hungry, and they show it. They got a second year quarterback, right? We all know they're well coached, but they got so many good players in that defense. They're going to be a very uncomfortable team to play against this year for anybody on your schedule, and that is a team that I really do not want to see come playoff time. I'm going to put it out there right now. No, because of their defense. I'm just their defense, if healthy. I think we could win. I think we'll win, Whittle. I'm not saying that we're going to lose. It's just going to be a very uncomfortable type game where it's going to be a grind out kind of situation. It's ones that we're not accustomed to all the time. That's my general thought on that. But having said that, I agree. The thing that stuck out for me is the penalties, and I want to get your opinion on something on this in a second. But 12 penalties and a half, I believe it was.
At least 12.
And you talked about McDermott about the discipline and all this. That I guess that was a concern. But let me ask you something about the preseason in terms. We're implementing it. I mean, it's the same defense, but it has to have some different wrinkles, right? I would imagine than it did under Leslie Frazier. Maybe the Bills are playing more aggressive. Maybe they're trying to test things, see what the refs call, see what the refs don't call. I mean, if there is, it is preseason, right? So maybe there's something to that. We got new pieces. They're trying to, maybe McDermott's trying to find out how far can I go with being aggressive. And listen, I'm not even sure if there's something to what I'm saying, but I hope I'm trying to make sense of that. And maybe there was something to it, because now's the time to work out these kinks as we go into the regular season.
Absolutely. I would say that I really don't know what they were thinking. Like, I mean, when we came out in like a 4-2-5, we came out in that nickel, and it was just basically like a shell coverage where we just thought, let's just keep everything in front of us. And the Steelers came out and they executed a really, really, really good run play with Jaylen Warren, and he took the ball, he took it for 62 yards down the sideline. But the way it was blocked up, it was very well done. I mean, they executed very well. I don't think that that's going to happen in the regular season. I think that if I had to speculate or guess, I would say McDermott's trying to figure out how good teams are going to try to attack us. So let's play the shell and see what they want to do. And what's the first thing they did? They went after Dane Jackson, and they ran the ball to the side that didn't have Von Miller.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
So we kind of we kind of got an understanding of what's going to happen on that side. They ran away from Rousseau. Rousseau's an excellent run blocker. So
yes.
we got to figure out, right. So that's where that middle linebacker piece comes into play. That middle linebacker has to be aggressive on run downs. He has to attack the hole. He has to attack the gap, whether it's the A gaps or the B gaps. He's got to attack it. Our safeties. That's going to free up our safeties. That's going to free up our the other linebackers and corners to make plays. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see what happens. I thought Kyle Allen had a better game. You know, Murray was fine. Mims was fine. I mean, you know, the guys that we expected to look good looked good. Kincaid looked great. Kincaid looked great. I think we got a preview of what to expect from Josh and Kincaid. It looked very smooth. Kincaid's a smooth route runner. He catches the ball effortlessly, tucks it away, and he's upfield. I love that. It reminds me of Cole Beasley, just a bigger, wider, taller, heavier version. But you know, I liked what I saw. The offensive tackle situation. Brandon Shell retires. Tommy Doyle is out for the year now.
Yeah, poor guy.
What are we doing?
What
do we got to do? So what the Jason Peters thing is out there. The man is 40. I mean, I don't know. He's 40, right? We lost 2 tackles though. I don't know how you feel about it, but I know I would welcome Jason Peters. Come back home, be a coach, be a coaching pads, basically. You come in, we'll pay you to vet men, whatever it is. You coach these guys up, you give them the game and especially Spencer Brown, man. If he could come in and just make Spencer Brown a better player, that would be beautiful, because Spencer Brown has all the physical tools in the world to be great. And then there's talk about a left right tackle out of Arizona. The name right now is escaping me, so I don't want to guess. I probably should have looked this up, but I didn't know this is the direction I was going to go with it. But yeah, just kind of give. I mean, I could look it up on my phone, but we'll just move on. We got
Josh Jones, I believe. Jones is that guy.
I think that's the guy. Yeah, I think that's the guy. So that's an option, and then the emergency. If break glass, if it's an emergency, is Osiris Torrance at right guard and Ryan Bates at right tackle. He's played tackle before. He's our Swiss Army knife on the offensive line. So, and listen, Josh is elite at avoiding pressure and buying himself more time. So he don't need much. It's not like he needs a lot. He just needs a little bit, man. So
yep.
We'll see what happens with that. But I'm at the point where I trust Brandon Beane. I trust Beane to do something. His track record on the offensive line and defensive line is not great, but I trust him to do something, because we just lost 2 tackles. We have to replenish that area.
Do you think, thinking about our wide receiver room, right? I mean, I thought Justin Shorter did enough to earn a spot, right? I know Granted was third stringers, but he looked good, right? You think the Bills would look into moving a guy like Shakir for an offensive line piece? Potentially, if there is someone that is interested, would you want to do something like that is the real question. Because we're in our Super Bowl window, right? As much as I like Shakir, if you're telling me I can get an offensive lineman that can help us win it all right now, even if it's not a huge role, is that something you're interested in? Or
if you asked me this last week, I would have said no.
Mm-hmm.
But after that Steelers game, the answer is yes. Like, I like Shakir. I love his potential. Yeah, man. And the reason for this is that I think these guys that they brought in for camp, these third string guys and these second and third string wide receivers, I think they look good. Like Isabella looks good here. He
Mhm.
looks good in this offense.
Yeah,
So Isabella's cheap, you know, his speed is amazing. Uh he looks good here. I mean, and like you said, Shorter look good. So there's some potential there that's untapped that maybe we can get out of it. So yeah, man. I mean, sure, why not? I like
only because we're in our Super
why
Bowl
not? He's
window,
a
right?
fifth
What
round
like
pick, man.
yeah,
Ultimately, he's a fifth round pick. He was a fifth
yep.
round pick. So if we can trade him and get a starting caliber right tackle, why not, man? Why not?
And like you said, at least our depth has been compromised by injuries. Yeah, has been a decent part of it, and we can't worry about Spencer Brown's feelings right now. We're in our Super Bowl window, right? You know what I mean? As much as I like a guy like Khalil Shakir, okay, great potential, but I'm gonna trade him for the chip every single time, right? So,
Oh,
and that's
absolutely.
not a knock against him whatsoever, but yeah, I do expect Bean to strike at some point, whether it's trade or, of course, after almost a 1,000 player cut down day. It's going to be on the 29th, I believe, which
Yes,
is
sir.
unbelievable. I mean, there's going to be some talent, but there's a lot of competition out there too. Little, there's a lot of teams that need tackle help, that need depth. I mean, even our own
There
division.
is. There is, but those guys are free agents. They can choose to go wherever they want.
Hmm.
Now, if I'm a right tackle and I've got some good film, I've got some good film out there. I've got, some talent.
We got to
I
get
know
you
I
in
can
that. We got to
probably
get you in that
start.
war room, Whittle. Yeah.
Yeah, I know I could probably start. Like if I'm a right tackle, I know I could probably start in Buffalo. So if I'm Brandon Bean, I'm calling every agent for every tackle that gets cut and say, like, listen, you can come here and potentially earn a starting job on this right side. And oh, by the way, if you play well, we have a chance to win the Super Bowl. So why not? Why not? Um,
And I love what you said about Jason Peters. I mean, wouldn't that be a great full circle if he comes back to the Bills? I mean,
I
that
would
would
love.
be unbelievable. Yeah, I would love it. I just hated the way they traded him. I couldn't stand that of course that old GM. Don't get me started on him. But
Oh,
it
Whaley.
would be oh
You
no,
talking about
no, Whaley,
Whaley?
no,
No.
Russ
Okay.
Brandon. Russ
Oh,
Brandon.
yeah,
That
before
guy
Whaley.
was the worst GM in our history. But it would be great. I mean, Super Bowl champion, right? Guy's gonna be a Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, he's 40, but in small doses, Jason Peters was still pretty solid last year. He wasn't bad. Like he had some
Well,
decent moments. So is he going to
age is
hurt
nothing
us?
but a number. Beyond, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
look at the team. Look at the team that plays in Jersey.
Hmm. That's right. He would
Rogers
almost
is
make their room
39.
younger.
Al Woods is 39. The left tackle. What's their left tackle? Dwayne Brown.
Dwayne
Dwayne
Brown.
Brown will be 30. Dwayne Brown will be 38 in 7 days. Happy birthday, by the way. Dwayne,
There you go.
happy birthday, man. Yeah, dude, they're old. They
Hmm.
are old. CJ Mosley is like 30 something. They're
Yep.
old. They're an older
Yep.
group as well. So
Yep.
yeah, if we can get Jason Peters in here, he doesn't have to play 17 games either.
Not at
We
all.
really, dude, we
Hmm.
really just need you in December and January, to be honest. We can
Exactly.
handle the rest of, the team will handle everything else. Just
Yep.
hold down that right side for the last, few weeks of the season. Um, that would be perfect. But with that being said, this weekend we have the Bears.
Hmm.
The Bears. The Chicago Bears. Um, you see what time it is, man? We're gonna blow right through this 1 hour.
I know this is what happens. It's good stuff. We could go 2-3 hours if we really want to.
Yeah, we're gonna blow right through this first hour, man. So the Bears, man, Chicago, disappointing season last year. Uh, one of the worst teams in football last year, and they had a lot of money to spend. Um, they they had a lot of money to spend, and they spent it. They went out and they got guys that are going to help this team. electric talent at quarterback in Justin Fields. Um, I really, really, really want things to work out for him. I just have my doubts based on what I've watched. Um, and I like some of I like the moves that they've been making, man. Like they drafted the kid out of Washington, Gordon, as the cornerback, and I think they're playing him in the slot now. I believe they're playing him in the slot, which is good for him because he's extremely reactive. He's not the most athletic guy on that roster, but he's a very, very smart player. He definitely makes plays, and he's solid, man. He doesn't mind sticking his nose in there and helping out in the run game. Um, they they drafted Jaquan Brisker last year as well. Um, not this past draft, but the draft prior.
Mhm.
Jaquan Brisker, safety prospect kid. I mean, he's gonna be a very good player. I'm hesitant to say star, but I think he has star. I think he has star quality all over, star potential all over for sure. Um, and I'm a fan of Cole Kmet, the tight end. I'm a fan of, they did have a slew of running backs that they were that they were trusting to hand the ball off to. And
Mhm.
just outside of those, those guys, I mean, they took Jack Sanborn as well last year, late round pick. I like Sanborn. I think he's a old school middle linebacker type, you're 6'2, 6'3, 240, 250 pound guy that's gonna come in there and knock your head off. Um, so just not a lot of talent outside of that. But they come into this year, they spent a ton of money in free agency. They brought in a bunch of guys, and we got a nice little graphic that we are going to show you guys. So yeah, they lost David Montgomery, Riley Reef. Those are really the main guys that they lost. But look at this list of key additions, man. DJ Moore,
Mhm.
1,000-yard receiver. Tremaine Edmonds, Pro Bowler, consistent Pro Bowler, 100 tackle guy. Top five middle linebacker in this league. TJ Edwards came out of the Philadelphia Eagles. Solid. He can play off ball. He can play weak side. He's a versatile piece. You can move all over the place. Yannick Ngakoue, pass rush specialist, 9.5 sacks. He wakes up in the morning. He's going to get you 9.5 sacks in the season as long as he's healthy. Nate Davis, interior offensive lineman, solid guy in the run game, solid guy in pass pro. Mercedes Lewis, Robert Tanyan, two veterans. Mercedes Lewis is like 50, but he's like one of the toughest people. He's old, bro. He's old. But
Like
he's one of the
Jason Peters look
toughest
young,
guys.
right? Mhm.
Yes, he's one of the toughest guys you're ever gonna hear. Like the stories that they have about Mercedes Lewis are like they're ridiculous. They're ridiculous. Robert Tanya, tight end to play for the Packers, really good player. I like him a lot. And Deontay Foreman's another guy that stands out. Demarcus Walker, Andre Bill, yeah, like they're just filling that roster out with talent. Um,
Mhm.
Rasheem Green. Yeah, I mean, they're just filling the roster out with talent, and they had the money to do it. And this is a sign of a good GM. They went out and added to their talent. So, based on what you see right there, I haven't even talked about the draft class, but
Mhm.
what do you think about the new look Bears just based off of what we just saw?
Yeah, I see a team that's trying to surround their young quarterback Justin Fields. Like you said, I have reservations and doubts about him as well as a passer. Even from his Ohio State days, right? But the whole key for Justin Fields is you have to surround him with what he needs to succeed, right? And I think for Justin Fields he's so electric in the running game as we know, right? Kind of like even like Josh can be at times. But I feel like once he gets that confidence to stay in the pocket and trust himself and go through his reads and do what he's got to do, this is a big year for him to take that step. I feel like 7 wins or so for Chicago and the seat, but I think the biggest thing for them is Justin Fields my guy? going forward. That the moves have been great. I think it's going to help them get to that point and establish themselves. But to me, 2023 is all about where am I sitting with Justin Fields? Because these contracts, these quarterbacks are getting now, Whittle. I mean, you see what Daniel Jones got in New York, $40 million. I mean, Daniel Jones is a solid QB. You and I like him, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that's the kind of money you got to shell out. So you better be sure that he is your guy. So that's how just in a very basic way of looking at the Bears, that's how I see it. And I want you to get to the draft because I know they have your guy and the guy that we wanted. So
No, they got a couple of guys that I like, but
yeah.
just to like to even add on to what you're saying about where the Bears need to go from where they were last year. Look at this, man.
Mm.
2022
Defense is
defensive stats ranks. Last points per game, yards allowed, middle and turnovers. Their pass rush was ridiculously bad. Yannick Ngakoue was a huge addition. Huge addition. Rushing yards allowed, they were the worst. And passing yards allowed, I mean, they're middle of the road, but at the end of the day, they're middle of the road because we can run the ball on you. So I mean,
and they're up in games. Yep.
right. And we're playing, and when we played Chicago last year, we ran the ball for like 250 or something like, or I think it might have been like 270. We ran the ball for a ton of yards that game.
Sure
like
did.
Singletary didn't have 100. James Cook didn't have 100, and I don't think Josh had 100 either. But collectively, it was like 270 yards. Man, it's horrible. Man, they stunk last year. They stunk, and
Yep.
Now we get
Absolutely.
into let's get into their draft. This is my area here, man.
There he is.
Darnell Wright. Just beyond, tell the people, man, how much I talk. Like, I think I might have been the first person on Twitter and on NFL, like the NFL Twitter group, the NFL Twitter community that we're a part of. I think I might have been the first guy to bring him up.
Just to put in perspective for our listeners, what Whittle was telling me about Darnell Wright, and you went to the mocks. He was what, second, third round, maybe, right?
Yep.
Like, and he just shot up like a rocket. Look where he got picked, 10th overall. So you were way ahead of the curve on Darnell Wright.
I was telling people about Darnell Wright in like March. Like, I was talking about Darnell Wright in like March, man, because I knew, like, you watch this kid on tape and the feet constantly moving. His hand usage is excellent. He's strong, great anchor. He knows how to fight off. He can fight off the initial block and then counter from the pass rusher. He's amazing, man. He's amazing. And he's nasty. He's a big mean kid. I wish we could have. I knew he was going to go in the first round. I was praying he didn't. I was praying he would slide to the second, but it just never happened. Pick number 2, another guy I talked about extensively over the offseason, Gervin Dexter Sr. 6'4", 6'5", 320 pounds. The kid is strong. I mean, he's farm strong, like huge. He looks like he's chiseled, like an artist took a boulder and just started chipping away and created this kid. He's gonna probably play a lot of nose tackle on his defense, and he's gonna be a gap eater, or he's gonna be a space eater. But he's got some serious pop where he can he can push the pocket right into a quarterback's lap. Second pick was Tyreek Stevenson. I was not high on this kid at all. I watched him at Miami a little bit, and I was like, no, I don't know how he's going to translate. I was wrong. I watched this kid play a couple of preseason games, and I think he's a gamer. I think he's gonna be one of those kids that's better in the pros than he was in college. He looks amazing. Um, I'll get back to Zach Pickens in a second because I want to go to Roshan Johnson. A lot of people don't know who Roshan is and should because he was the backup to Bijan. He was the second guy to Bijan, and Bijan got all of the hype. But if Bijan was lightning, this kid was thunder. 230 pounds, and I want to pull up. I'm gonna pull up his RAS because I just believe 100% that his RAS score had to be amazing. Roshan Johnson RAS score. Yeah, this kid 200 6 foot 6 foot one. Well, basically 6 feet tall, 225 pounds. The kid ran a 4.58. Who wants to tackle that? I don't.
Have fun. Nope.
Yeah, good luck. Tyler Scott, speedster out of Cincinnati. Noah Sewell, middle linebacker out of Oregon. So these guys are solid players. Terrell Smith, I did look into him a little bit. Wasn't really high on him. I'm not sure if he's going to make the squad. They have a terrible roster, so he probably will. And I hope for the best for him. But Zach Pickens, I wanted this kid in Buffalo so bad because he's a guy who can play inside and outside. If you ask me, that defense is going to be good because of Zach Pickens. I think Zach Pickens is the key to this draft class. I love Darnell Wright. Let me say he's the key on the defensive side of the football. I think Tariq Stevens is going to. I think Tariq Stevenson is going to have a very good career, but Zach Pickens is just. I think he's that disruptive pass rushing force that's going to be able to call that. That's going to be able to eat off of whatever table that Gervin Dexter sets. I think Pickens is going to eat from that, and he's a guy that can play inside, he can play outside. 6'3", 6'4", like about 280, 290. You know, he does a little bit of everything. He's got great feet. Always moving, always active. Motor just doesn't stop, and I like their draft class, man. Darnell Wright, me.
Yeah, so. I like what they did with the two defensive tackles there, Whittle, because when you get a guy like Tremaine Edmonds, right, you got to give him, space, right, and having those two guys up front, that's the way you got to rebuild your defense from the inside out. And I agree with you. I like what they did there with those two D tackles and Darnell Wright, of course.
Yeah, and Tremaine had his best season with us when we did what we got good play at defensive tackle. Once we got Daquan Jones here, Tremaine looked like he belonged. He looked like the star player that we thought he was going to be coming out of Virginia Tech. Personally, we played him out of position. Tremaine should have been a weak side linebacker. He should have been an outside linebacker, which is what he was in college. We made him into a middle linebacker, but that's neither here nor there. It is what it is. Water under the bridge. Would have been nice if we could have landed Jack Campbell, but here we are.
Yeah.
So this weekend, me personally, all right, we got the Bears. We know what they're, we played them last year. We know what they look like. We know what what their issues were. I'm looking for the offensive line to get out there and win. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the offensive line from left tackle to right tackle to have a very, very impressive game. On the defensive side of the ball, I want them active. I would like for McDermott to dial up some blitzes and let's see what we can do with putting Justin Fields under pressure because he doesn't have great pocket presence. Justin Fields isn't great dealing with pressure. he's going to tuck it and run because he can.
Mhm.
So I'd like to see that because I don't want to get into I don't want to have to deal with DJ Moore and I don't want to. No, it's not DJ Moore, right? They got DJ Chark, right?
No, DJ Chark is on. I can't remember. No,
Carolina.
you were correct. It's DJ Moore. That is correct.
Yeah,
They signed
DJ
him.
Moore. Okay, so I don't want to deal with DJ Moore and Chase Claypool and Tyler Scott running down the field, and then Equimini St. Brown with his 6'5", 220 pound self, catching passes over the middle of the field. Cole Kmet, you know, I don't want to deal with that. I would like to dial up the blitz. I would like to shut the run down early and often, and force Justin Fields to make bad decisions. Um, it's time to start ramping up for the season. You know, we're not playing a cupcake schedule. We don't have a layup game week 1. We got the Jets, so it's time to come out and punch. We got to punch the Bears in their mouth. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah,
what about you?
Absolutely. Well, I guess the biggest thing I want to ask you is, are we? But I want to give a shout out to the Mafia King in our comments there. So, hello, Mafia King. So he didn't ask us a question, but he said, "What's up?" So I just wanted to acknowledge that. How much do you think McDermott plays the starters much this week, or what would you, if you were McDermott, what would you do considering the way we played last week, and we only have the 3 preseason games? Would you? I mean, we're not going to see Josh or Diggs or guys like that, but talking more offense and maybe defensive line and maybe linebacker core, would you play them a series or 2 this weekend?
I would. I would actually play Josh for a series. I would give Josh at least 1 series because I don't think that the penalties killed any type of offensive scheme or script that we had last week. So I want to give the offense a chance to actually get through the script. The Bears, despite adding all of that talent that we showed you in those graphics, despite that, I don't think that they're still. I still don't think they're a good team. I would like to get it. I would like to give the starters a chance to go and hit Tremaine, for real, for once. Yeah, he left us, man. Like, go hit him. Go hit him.
Yeah, let's go after him.
And we were all rooting for you, Tremaine. We were all rooting for you, all of us, and you left us. But anyway, I would let them go. At least a series, maybe 2. I want to get that script going. I want to see how they look when they're not going up against, an elite front 7. I want them to be able to get through get through your stuff and make sure that, if there are errors there, we can see it on film and correct it in the 2 weeks, in the week that we have before the week we got to prep for the Jets. So yeah, definitely, I would like to see them play a little bit at least, just a little bit.
It's gonna be interesting to see. I'm sure we'll probably hear more about that maybe tomorrow or Friday.
Right.
Yeah, in terms of whether Josh will play. I mean, Josh, I might. I'm kind of mixed on Josh playing, but I understand you play. Get the mojo back after that dreadful performance against Pittsburgh. I know it's only preseason, but just something to kind of get the flow going to the offense, right? Like or even the defense, just a little bit of like, hey, we can lead on something. Couple good plays. Maybe the linebackers can redeem themselves a little bit, just to get a little confidence going into that Monday night showdown with the Jets.
Absolutely, and that's one thing you said. Like, build up some confidence. We got young players that are going to be playing pivotal roles on this team. James Cook that's RB1, man. You know what I'm saying? That's RB1. Dalton Kincaid. We are expecting Dalton Kincaid to have an impact on this offense this year. And there's some continuity and some gelling that the offensive line needs to do. So I would definitely give the offense some snaps together for sure. And Kyle Allen definitely needs to play. I think he needs to get some more snaps with the ones this time. I think he played very well last week. I think he earned himself an opportunity to at that QB2 spot. Let's see what he does this week against the Bears. He should light them up. If he doesn't, then we're in trouble.
Yeah, we sure are.
But I'm going to throw a caveat out there real quick. We did not discuss this prior to, but um, Trey Lance is available. How do you
Yep.
feel about Trey Lance?
Well, Twiddle, I tweeted this earlier. If the price is right, I mean, wouldn't he not be? I mean, this would be a good spot for Trey. I mean, I know it's a basic thing. Remember those commercials Josh did about Trey, like just tune out the noise and stuff like that? Remember those little promos they had
Yep.
last
Yep.
year? Like Josh understands what Trey's going through, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's a kid that comes out of college. I mean, now Josh had more starts under his belt than Trey did, but it's that same, big arm has all the tools, right? He just needs the time. This would be a great spot for him to really learn his craft, even if he stays with us for a couple of years, right? He could learn under us, and his style could fit what we're doing on offense.
Right.
I would love to see it. I just don't know how the money would work with him if because he's still under that third overall pick contract, right? So that's something that would have to be worked out. But I'm not sure what the price is, but I'm very uneasy about our backup quarterback position. You and I spoke about it off our podcast many times.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see it, but I just don't know what price San Francisco is going to really have to come down on what they're probably looking for.
Well, I agree with you, man. I don't. As much as I would like to see it happen, I don't see it happening. I don't see him coming to Buffalo. There are too many other teams that can use him immediately. Couple teams that come to mind: the Rams, the Seahawks, Minnesota, Tampa Bay. Another team that if they wanted to go after him, yeah,
that's true.
Those are teams that if he went there, it wouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised if if they made a move to go get him. New England and Vegas are two of the teams that I also thought about. Vegas, they got Jimmy Garoppolo, whatever. And it just seems like Belichick for years has been trying to find a mobile quarterback. I think he tried the Tom Brady replacement thing. It didn't work. So maybe he goes after a mobile guy. He brought in Cam Newton a few years ago, and that didn't work out. He spoke highly of Justin Fields. He speaks highly of Josh Allen. Trey Lance is out there, man. Like he's not as mobile as those two guys, but he is mobile enough. And then there was the late they had Lamar linked to the Patriots as well this offseason. So
that's true.
Maybe, man, maybe that's a spot for him. One more spot. I think this is actually the best fit for him. The absolute best fit. Atlanta. Atlanta.
That's true.
That's
true.
I think Atlanta would be perfect for him.
They've
They've got a great running game, man. They can just hand the ball off. And Kyle Pitts is a elite level talent, elite level tight end, and Drake London is huge. They're gonna go out and get another wide receiver, I'm sure, in the draft. So yeah, why not, man? Go down there, Trey Lance, and be great.
I really hated that move for San Francisco only for one reason. You're taking a guy who was really raw coming out of college, right? And you're putting him on a Super Bowl ready roster. That's an impossible situation to me, right? You have now. Listen, I know Brock Purdy came in. I understand, but it's different. I can't describe it. You trade all those assets, and he gets hurt in one game. First game of the year in a sloppy field in Chicago. Remember that game was the first game of the year?
Yep.
And then I listen, I know things in practice, but he barely got any opportunity at all to play on this team. And it was just a tough, he needed to go to a team look where Anthony Richardson went, right? I compare those two because they're both raw in their, they haven't started a lot of games in college, right? But they're going to give him rope. Right, they're going to let him do his thing. Right, they're going to surround him with what he needs. But with Lance, it was like, oh, we need you to be good right away. We need you to go out and win a Super Bowl. Coming out of where North Dakota State he went to,
North Dakota State, yeah,
from North Dakota State to San Francisco trying to win a Super Bowl. That's a lot for a young quarterback to take in. So
Mhm.
I never liked the fit from the beginning for that reason. So I think maybe and listen, Trey could use this as a blessing in disguise. Maybe he goes somewhere else and learns under somebody else, or maybe he gets, like you said, Atlanta makes sense. He could start pretty soon if Ritter doesn't work out.
Ritter stinks. I'm sorry, Ritter stinks, man.
Ri-
He's better. He's better at quarterback than I am,
yeah,
100%. But in comparison to the other quarterbacks in the NFL, Ritter stinks, man. He stinks.
yeah, I'm with you.
He
I'm with you.
stinks. He stinks. Um, so, we're nearing the end now of another episode. Next week is the pre-show for the Jets game. That show you don't want to miss. It will be live. We're starting at 9 o'clock. We are 100% really, 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 really trying hard to get some special guests in here. We have a couple that have said yes already, and it's going to be a great show. I'm still working, and we're still working. We're still reaching out, and we're trying to get a couple more guys to kind of jump in here and talk Jets and Bills. I actually may bring somebody in that has some ties to Madison Square Garden. See if she's willing to pop on for a little bit, man. And
Excellent.
yeah, and I have another source, not a sauce. I have a source
A
that
sauce. Yeah.
that's connected to somebody that's on the team. So I'm gonna tap those connections as well and see. Maybe we can get 15 minutes out of somebody, man. It should be great. But next week is a live show you do not want to miss. We just testing things out. This is episode 5. Um, we're not gonna get worse. This is we're gonna get better and we're enjoying it, man. So
Yep.
next week we will have some people in here to talk Jets, and we're gonna have some special guests to come in here and talk about the Jets and the Bills over the years and the rivalry that it is. It's going to be exciting. I think next week's show is going to be great. So I do
Looking
thank
forward
you
to it.
all. Yeah, yes, sir. I do thank you all for tuning in. Whether you watched it live and dropped a comment, or you tune into a replay, we appreciate it. We definitely appreciate it. This is fun for us, and we're gonna keep doing it. And we're just gonna keep talking about the Bills and keep talking about football, man. Two things of a few that we share in common that we love, and um, the motto. I wore this shirt for a reason. Let the media know the East is not enough.
That's
It's not
right.
enough to win a division title. The only way to shut down what the people are saying outside the building is to bring the trophy home. That's the only way to do it. It's the only way you
Amen.
keep people quiet. That's it. It's the only way. So hopefully it happens. I'm riding with this team regardless, man. And next week again, coast to coast, Wednesday, 9 to 10. It may be a little longer next week. I'm not gonna say maybe. It's definitely gonna be a little longer next week. We got a
Mhm.
lot to talk about. We got a lot of people coming through. And I don't want to rush guys that want to talk about the Bills and the Jets. I don't want to rush it. And I think this is
Mhm.
a big, huge game. So, beyond what you got for us, man.
Well, listen, we're going to have 2 shows probably, right? At minimum for Bills Jets because we got 2 weeks coming up. So it's going to be, I'm calling these shows extravaganzas. It's going to be that great. So anyone out there listening, it's not just a podcast. It's an extravaganza with some of the guests we're going to bring on. So make sure you come back and again, just keep liking and subscribing to our podcast. We really appreciate it. We appreciate anybody listening out there. So can you believe it, Whittle? Next podcast, we are previewing week 1 of the 2023 NFL season. It's finally here. So
It's
I
about
want to
time.
thank you. It's an absolute honor and pleasure to do these podcasts with you. And I agree with you. It's going to get bigger and better every single week. So having said that, this is Beyond 716. Wishing you all a great week, and let's go Bills this Saturday.
Thanks for and all. We'll see you next week.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.